order the regular board meeting in Municipal Yacht Harbor for Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Happy New Year, everyone. All right, roll call. Present.
Present.
I assume we have a quorum. We'll go ahead and move forward. Presentation of the agenda. Do we have any motions from the board to amend the agenda? Motion to accept the agenda. Motion by Hammond, second by Heck. Accept the agenda. Approval of the minutes, which was sent to everyone of the safety and security meeting from last month. Chris, you want to make a motion, Phil? I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the safety and security meeting last month.
Second.
Second by Watkins. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, any comment cards?
No.
We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor accept the minutes from the safety and security meeting. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Selection of the nominating committee.
That was also the regular board meeting minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, regular board meeting. Okay, so a motion to accept the regular board meeting minutes from December 12th. Motion by Mark Heck. Second by Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, accepted unanimous. All right. Selection of the nominating committee. We have our regular annual meeting of the corporation in March. We'll have to put forth names at the next meeting, so we need a nominating committee for people to submit their anybody that they want to nominate. So I need to executive committee make some appointments to that. Last year, I believe Chris, you sat on it last year, and Dr. Chris. I need two members who are not from the officers of the board, from the executive board, to sit on that committee. Do I have any volunteers for that, basically, to accept nominations? Okay. Keisha. Sit on the nominating committee? All right, so we have the nominating committee. I need a motion from the executive committee to approve the members of the nominating committee, which at this point are Chris Hammond, Dr. Criddle, Keisha Turkey, and Mark Heck.
So moved. Watkins. Second.
Watkins and second by Hammond. Any discussion of the nominating committee? So the nominating committee will present a slate of officers at the regular board meeting preceding the annual meeting. Members of the board shall have nominations from the floor. So between now and February, if anybody wants to make a nomination or nominate themselves for the executive board, now's the time to do it. Contact one of those four board members. What else will pass a motion? Any discussion? Any comment, Clark?
Harris?
All right. So all those in favor, and then those need to be in prior to next month's meeting, which we'll get to the date and time of that. It actually falls on March, so I'll think about that. But, all right. So that's your nominating committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So we have the members of the nominating committee. As you stated, if you have anybody for the executive board want to nominate, please contact one of them. Those names will be put forth at the next meeting in February and voted on at the March meeting, which is considered our annual meeting. All right. next item is a HRNA progress report, which was requested last month. Brian, I'd like to give that.
Sure. So far, HRNA has completed the project kickoff, confirming objectives, including reviewing prior studies, relevant materials. We held a project kickoff meeting right at the beginning, and then they did conduct a site visit. The market assessment was completed. They analyzed the local real estate market, including trends in supply, and quantified potential demand for retail and entertainment uses. Briefly, they determined that there was demand for entertainment uses in retail. Restaurants looked kind of neutral. There wasn't a strong push against it. Feasibility analysis is substantially complete. We developed cost and revenue assumptions, built a pro forma financial model, designed development scenarios based on market demands, site capacity constraints, tested financial feasibility, potential revenue generation for the Yacht Harbor. RFQ parameters, recommendations been initiated. We're outlining key questions, considerations for meetings with project leadership, including the political aspect of the development, and then market sounding, developer outreach research. They initiated, they're just compiling a list of developers, and solicitation preparation.
Any board members have any questions or comments? Any comment cards?
Carrie?
I'll pass.
Liz, what was your comment on?
Oh,
What
I
item?
just want to talk about blighted property.
Charles?
I guess I kind of, real quick, is the report something that we can do a public records request and see it?
Other than what you have here, Brian, do you have any other documents?
No, I don't.
The time frame as far as the, is it, earlier, we talked about meetings or other things. I know Joe Geruso had mentioned at the December meeting that there'd be no more public meetings, so are any public meetings planned?
We will have the public meetings, we promised. They're not, Brian, unless tell me if I'm saying something wrong here, Brian's the one that's talked to the attorneys. Until they're ready to have they've met with they get ready to start meeting with stakeholders, right? The Russo and other stakeholders, politicians, the new council that we talked about in Jefferson Parish. Until that happens, they're not prepared to have a public meeting yet. But after that, they will demand that they have one, and we always said they would. So as they get to that point, and I guess that's helping them get to what they'll present. So as we've heard, no residential. Right? I think they want to sit and talk to Russo about that and what the steps are. I can tell you it's off the table. I mean, everything I've heard. I mean, I'm not saying it's off the table. Tim, unilaterally say that. I'm telling you, you heard the public meeting, you were at it, right? So
I have one more
I think
question.
they need to have that. That's fine. I'll let you. I'm taking your time. I understand. Let them have their meetings, and we're going to start saying, okay, what's the timeline? When can we get a public meeting?
So, the initial CA talked about cost sharing, but it seems like we're bearing all the costs. Jefferson Parish is not contributing, nor is the city of New Orleans. So how, has that been discussed, that whether or not the other entities that were going to benefit financially from this are going to share the development costs?
Well, you said an acronym earlier. How did you say that? The CA?
The CEA originally. Now, to your point, you asked me to check with Joe on that, and I wrote back, and Joe emailed me that said, you might be right and you might be wrong.
So who's you and you? You might be right.
Tim McConnell told me at our previous meeting I should check with Joe Geruso on the CEA status. I emailed Joe saying that, you'd said it expired. And Joe wrote me back and said, it literally said, you might be right and you might be wrong.
You might be right, Timmy might be wrong.
Yes.
Okay.
He said Tim might be right and Tim might be wrong. All right, the staff sent me.
Won't be the first time I've been on.
I thought he would get into a song with it, but it was not, it was interesting. So, because it had been drafted, and I guess it was never voted on at the city council level. So first the staff sent me the draft, but it talked about cost, that not only do you share the revenues, but you also share the expenditures of getting it there. And it seems like we're only ones bearing any cost right now, and that Jefferson Parish hasn't said, here's some money, and the city of New Orleans hasn't said, here's some money, because they're gonna benefit from this. So is there anything going on in play right now as far as when those entities might share some of the burden of the financial development costs?
I believe if there is a, so my understanding is what this board is trying to do is get off of zero, get a document, a draft document that could then be presented to the other partners who are obvious, whether there's a CEA or not. There are people who own and manage land that a development may go on. Nothing's going to happen without something from them. So it makes sense, once again, with or without a CEA, that everyone's got to be in agreement with whatever gets proposed there. So the goal is to get some kind of draft document to get off of zero, which is what we're doing when we're putting the bill. As this thing moves forward, if there's a CEA in place that says everybody cost shares, we will certainly ask people to put up their portion of that, what's been spent already from this board. It's reasonable. Can't make them do it, but to sit and say nothing's going to happen until people write a check, we're back where we were, August 2005, in my opinion.
Sure.
So we've talked about it as a board to try and get something concrete that can then get conversations started and get things moving to get off the zero, which is where we are today.
And
I don't think we're on zero anymore, but we're closer.
I'll add at the budget meeting in December, Councilman Jerusa basically said he was moving forward with this, the private development of the park. So this is his comments at the budget meeting.
Yeah, I watched. All right, any other public? All right, any board members? Have any input? So once again, everything that this board promised, I'll tell you as I sit here, I will ensure that we do everything we promised to do and have meetings and get input. Because we haven't had it yet, and I think we've expressed in this meeting how and why we hadn't happened yet. But I think each one of these steps that Brian just went over and talked gets us closer to that point of having that. We have something to make a presentation and get feedback, a nice professional presentation and get feedback, not just me sitting here expounding or other board members expounding about what we think might happen. Some concrete that people can see and ask questions about and get feedback.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Brian. The next item is the financial report. Roger.
As of December 31st, 2023, Municipal Yacht Harbor Corporation has total assets of $17.326 million, with current assets of $3.507 million, and the bulk of which is in the form of cash, $3.368 million in two JP Morgan Chase accounts. Net fixed assets total $1.353 million. Other assets include leases receivable of $12.295 million and deferred outflow of pension resources of $166,100. On the liability side, Yacht Harbor Corporation has total liabilities of $13.026 million, of which $260,200 current liabilities, consisting mainly of accounts payable and accrued expenses of $102,400 and accrued annual sick leave, accrued annual leave and sick leave of $147,300. Long-term liabilities consisted of net pension liability of $496,100 and $12.268 million for deferred inflow of long-term leases. That leaves Yacht Harbor Corporation with a total equity of $4.299 million, of which $3.799 million is unrestricted net assets. For the month of December, Yacht Harbor Corporation had revenues of $201,500 and operating expenses of $231,700, which resulted in a net loss of $30,200. Year-to-date revenues are $2.237 million, with total expenses of $1.938 million, resulting in a year-to-date profit of $298,900. The The harbor's occupancy is 93,000. And to share a little bit of insight on the overage of expenses, there's some large expenses that occurred in December. $19,769 went to legal fees due to a lawsuit that's filed against the corporation. $2,600 in general legal fees, about $8,700 for plumbing repairs, and just under $17,000 for the removal of 5 dead oak trees.
Any comments from any board members? Well, can we get a motion to accept the financial report first? Motion by Mark Heck, second. Second by Chris Hammond. All right, discussion, board members, any discussion on the financial report? Public comment card?
Carrie?
Okay.
Is that it?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion to accept the financial report. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, financial report passes. All right. Director's report, Brian?
Update on the Salem Center construction. Which I'll remind us we're not actively doing construction, but it's always going to share news about that. The pilot test was completed, and I know that the Salem Center has been in contact with the nearby boathouse owners regarding any damage, potential damage from the piling project. So I know they're doing their best to reach out. Hiring staff, we currently.
Brian, I'm sorry, have you had any complaints? Have we had any complaints from boathouse owners about damage?
The last meeting we were requesting to make sure that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, did anybody say they had it down to where we're at?
No. Staff hiring, we're currently looking for a third ground patrol officer, electrical staff. As you appear, the sale of boathouse, the ordinance, we're starting to wrap ordinance for the sale lease of the 2 boathouses in possession.
Thank you.
Boathouse 127 issues, which we discussed at the last meeting, that we have engaged a contractor to make the necessary repairs to basically secure it and save. So that's in process. Western Park, Breakwater Park, we're doing continuous site upgrades. As we know, we've had permitting issues. We've been working on these. We have cleared up some real estate records work, and they're updating their own maps. I've been in contact with them, giving them the proper information so that we can alleviate any permitting issues that we've been running into. So we'll actually show that we manage this property. Parking lot rental, RFP for bidding, it's not really an RFP, but I have some requests for some bids out for the towing company so we can start finding charging for that. Marina, Wi-Fi, the concrete pads for the poles, they were out there today, pouring concrete pads, finished, but we're doing that. Pole delivery should be coming up, I think it was scheduled in March. And then all the lease renewals for the new year were completed. Just thank the staff, because that's a good job we do every year. And then quality of life requests from the last meeting. I requested additional speed limit signs. I'm going to follow up with 311 again to see. And then 2 lanes, their sailing season is essentially over, so I haven't pushed forward on the document for the move when they start being active again. And then I did meet with the engineer for the point improvements. Mostly, we had a good meeting. They were going to come up with some drawings, so they were going to present to the board already. West Bend development expenses. As of 12/27/23, we have 2,670 additional expenses. Development is total $65,666.
Brian, did the lights in the boathouse, I know we were working on it, but complaint about lights in the boathouse, did that get resolved?
No, I wasn't able to get the lift before the holidays, so that's all I was doing.
Okay. All right, any questions from the board on the director's report?
Number 8, Brian, what is the parking lot rental, getting quotes or?
That's a towing company, so we get it.
Company, I didn't hear that. I thought you said building company.
Any other questions? Public comment?
Yes.
Carrie?
I'll wait.
Just a very little matter. It's really not much. With the signage, could we get a one-way sign put at the end of the public parking lot? People come out of there and turn up the wrong way, once, twice a week.
Which part?
The one over here at the, by the yacht club.
Which yacht club?
By the Southern Yacht Club has their parking lot, and there's a big public parking lot behind that. People that are sailing, I guess, or they Southern Yacht Club members.
They're going the wrong way around.
They're going the wrong way around the park, and it's almost weekly that I have to stop somebody and go, one way. You know. And I couldn't figure out why they wouldn't figure it out from the other sides. And it dawned on me it was coming from that line.
Good point. Any other cards?
That's it?
Thank you, Brian. Rules and Standards. Rules and Standards Committee held a meeting today, just before this meeting, on Boathouse 110 and 111, bearing municipal addresses, 211 North Roadway and 209 North Roadway respectively. Tenants are Frank and Susan Lott. Their representative was here, the architect, and our architect, our consultant, Steve Finnegan, had reviewed the plans and agreed that they were in compliance and recommended that we approve it. Sorry, they're, I was looking for their architect's name and put it into the record, but anyway.
Their contract, yeah.
Their contract.
Yeah, problem.
In other words, our architect, the main thing, our architect recommended, Steve Finnegan recommended approval, so we have a motion from the Rules and Standards Committee to approve changes based on the plans and specifications that were submitted to the Yacht Harbor for approval. Any discussion? Any board members? Any comment cards?
Carrie?
I'll pass.
All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion passes to approve the plan. Unfinished business. Have anything, Brian? Do you have anything on the unfinished business?
Only if you wanted to do bylaws, that's cool.
Oh, that's what it's on. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Yes, we have the bylaws committee met today prior to this meeting. Ariane, do you have copies to pass out to the other board members?
Yes.
I'll start, as we go on. Remember, we got, the committee has it already, so we need one for Mark and one for Keisha. Contribution and all. All right, I'm going to go through, so these are housekeeping for our bylaws. I'm going to go through each item. What we have is in motion on by committee on the floor for the approval of these changes to the bylaws. And then we'll take comments. Any board member who wishes to comment as we're going through item by item, please stop me. And we'll take comment cards after we finish each article. So people who have any, people can comment. So if you submit one comment card about the bylaws, just please, put your hand up. I'm going to ask you to put your hand up, and we'll recognize you after the board comments on that particular article. I think it'll be smooth and fun to go all the way back to the beginning. There was a lot of housekeeping in here. I've been on board, I guess, 4 years, and this is the first visitation of the bylaws that I've seen, and so it had some rather outdated stuff even way before that. So I'll cover that in here. So as I said, a lot of housekeeping. The first, under Article 1, Officers, Section 1, the first items in there are just clearing up some definitions for conciseness throughout the document. So Board of Directors is repeated like literally 60 times in the document, just to find it at the beginning, and for the rest of the document it says Board, instead of Board of Directors, Board of Directors, Board of Directors. Also the corporation, it wasn't defined or referred to it, we defined the corporation as Municipal Yacht Harbor Corporation. That's the first change that you see in Section 1. The other one is the first two changes in Section 1, corporation and board defined for conciseness. The next change starts in C but carries throughout the document. Also, it applies to the use of gender-neutral pronouns, whereas they were using his sometimes, his and her sometimes. We just cleaned it up wherever we could to either eliminate pronouns or make it gender-neutral. So you see that throughout the document. You see the first one there in C, whereas it said his, we just refer to the officer instead of his, or his successor, we say a successor. And that starts, in this case, it's talking about the replacement of a board if they die or leave office for another reason. If you flip to page 2, Article 2, Section 1A, it says the directors of the corporation shall be 14. Well, it's been 9 since 2012. I have cited the ordinance for anybody's reference, so we changed that to 9, which has been, it says, in 2012. B, it says the directors, except the initial directors and ex officio directors, shall be 3 terms, shall be 3 years, and until his successor is selected and qualified. That is against, in violation or conflict with the city ordinance. That remaining until a successor is qualified only applied to the directors that were on the board at that time. Some of them had been there for 14 years or whatever, and so it was to not say everybody's going, because all of them had been there more than 3 years. So it allowed them to stay until a successor was appointed, but every succeeding director is 3-year terms. So it strikes until his successor is selected and qualified. Out of it, it says shall be 3 years. In terms of all directors shall be 3 years. The next one is C, which previously said if a director failed to attend 3 or more consecutive board meetings, the president shall promptly, without further action, notify the mayor and request the director be removed. The only exception to this action required by the president is if, based on good cause, the president recommends a majority report and grants a one-time exception. That is in violation of city ordinance, which says if a director fails to attend more than 25% of all scheduled meetings in a 12-month period, the president shall promptly, without further action, notify the mayor. So we're bringing it into compliance with that. We then also added good cause, so the exception, granting an exception, good cause shall require a director to demonstrate their inability to attend this meetings due to a personal medical emergency. If the majority of the board votes to grant a one-time exception, the president shall make a written request to the mayor requesting that the director be granted an exception. In other words, the ordinance does not give us the ability to grant an exception, but in reporting to the mayor that the ordinance hasn't been complied with, and we've deemed that it's a satisfactory reason for an medical emergency, we'll make that report. We'll vote on it and make a request. Even that has to go before the city council before someone's removed. So they obviously have an intent that there might be a situation where somebody would have a reason not to be removed. And so we added that language to do that and send our response if we think it's appropriate to say the person shouldn't be removed. Then we also added D, which you're not going to see on your document before you because it came out of discussion in the committee, but it'll be amended to say a member who is engaged in municipal yacht harbor business who is absent due to yacht harbor business shall not be considered absent, but present. So that's a change that'll be in there, it'll be D. And then E was added, and once again, this is direct wording right out of an ordinance. Our executive director is required to report to the city council by February 1st if the information that directors submitted on their questionnaire when they were appointed to their position, if any of it changes, he has to report that. But if he's not getting it reported to him, he can't report it. So this is verbatim out of the ordinance. Directors shall report any changes in residence and/or domicile, elected status, mailing or business address, phone number, or email address from the information submitted on the membership questionnaire submitted prior to appointment to the executive director. If you submit it to Brian, he can submit it. So it's on record with the mayor's office and the city council, and he has to submit it to both of them. I am sorry, because I have now gone through Article 2. On Article 1, did we have any comments from anybody? Any board members?
Should you just find about the, you said they will not be MYHMC?
Yes, let me, I messed up there, let me do this. Article 1, with all this technical stuff. Anybody have anything? Any comment cards? Anybody? Okay. Article 2. What we said was, so if you look at that second to last sentence, good cause shall require a director to demonstrate their inability to attend missed meetings due to personal medical emergency or engage in municipal yacht harbor business. In the committee meeting, we decided to remove that or engage in municipal yacht harbor business and make it its own clause that says a director shall not be counted as absent if they're, and I'm butchering this wording one, but I'm paraphrasing. If they're if they're being absent is due to municipal yacht harbor business, being absent due to municipal yacht harbor business. We'll clean it up to a nice concise sentence. But basically we're saying if a director misses a meeting due to being away on municipal yacht harbor business, they shall not be counted as absent. Get that off the tape, because I think I got it right that second time. Okay? All right. And then E is about reporting your information to the mayor and city council. All the rest is just technical, taking out directors and in it. Okay. Any questions or comments on Article 2? Any comment cards on Article 2? Article 3, meetings. Section 1. An annual meeting of what was the board of directors now says corporation shall be held during the monthly meeting in the month of March. At such a location, rather date or time in March each year, as the board shall determine. B, it previously said, regular meetings of the board of directors shall be scheduled each month at such times and places as the directors shall determine. It's in conflict with an ordinance that says we have to, in our rules, put the date, time, and place of our meetings. So the proposed amendment is regular meetings of the board shall be scheduled to occur at 6:30 on the second Tuesday of each month at 403 North Roadway, New Orleans, Louisiana, period. Meetings may be temporarily relocated due to availability. Meetings may be rescheduled temporarily due to conflicting schedules, i.e. holidays, etc. When necessary, a monthly meeting may be canceled by the president with consensus of the executive committee. However, meetings shall be held at a minimum of one meeting per calendar quarter and a minimum of one meeting every 3 months. Sorry for struggling through that, folks. I got strike throughs and underlines for addition, right? But basically what we're saying is to comply with the ordinance, we have to state date, time, and place. And so we're doing that. But also, we know there may be times when this room ain't available and we'll have to move downstairs. Or as you'll hear a little bit later in the meeting, Mardi Gras is our next meeting, if anybody wants to attend. Mardi Gras attend. So, giving us the authority to move that, but not to cancel meetings and make them too far apart. We added the qualifiers of, one per quarter and never less than 3 months apart. Theoretically, that technicality, theoretically, you could have one in January and one in June and have fulfilled one in each quarter, but now you're 5 months apart. So trying to get that nailed down. I don't foresee meetings being canceled. I just want to make sure that we have the bylaws are covering what it is that we do as opposed to what we had before and being out of sync with the ordinance. All right. Because of the length of that one, at section 1, I'm going to stop there. We have other stuff in Article 3, but let's stop there and open it for any discussion with board members. Anyone have any questions? Remember, folks, the 4 executive board members, executive officers, were the committee for this, and so we're not hearing comments from them. And there was a lot of good back and forth as we crafted this. Comment, Paul?
Me.
No.
Just what I said earlier is if the executive committee is going to cancel a meeting, please, maybe I don't know if it should be in the bylaws or not. The public often might have something that they want to bring up. So you guys should weigh heavily before you cancel a meeting. If you can still have it, if somebody has something that's pressing from the public before meetings are canceled.
I'll just speak for me. I appreciate that, and I take it seriously. I really do, and I don't see us canceling meetings, and certainly trying to not do it on any kind of short notice. Because I think they told me to cancel the trip previously. So, but to lock us into not being able to do it if we don't have to, if something comes up with what happened, and we try to not let it happen by looking ahead. But after we had scheduled a meeting, then in between the 2 meetings, we found out it's a federal holiday.
Sure.
Our bad, but anyway. So we just want to make sure that we can stay in compliance with rules that we should be staying in compliance with, in half, quite frankly. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen going forward. Any other comment, Carl?
No.
Okay. Article 3, special meetings notice. This is about modernizing outdated contact methods. We talked about this as the example when we proposed this committee in December. Except as otherwise required by statute, notice of special meetings shall be mailed directly to each director, is what it said before. And it said on 2 days before the meeting is to be held, and shall be delivered, shall be delivered to him or her personally, or given to him or her orally, no later than the day before in which the meeting is to be held. A notice or waiver of notice shall specify the purpose of the meeting. All right. We're proposing that it says, except as otherwise required by statute, notice of special meetings shall be, 1, emailed directly to each director, utilizing the Municipal Yacht Harbor Corporation email address, at least 2 days before the day on which the meeting is to be held, and shall be delivered to the director verbally no later than 24 hours before the day and time on which the meeting is to be held. Notice the waiver and notice shall specify the purpose. So in a nutshell, instead of snail mail through the U.S. Postal Service, we're saying you get an email on your official Yacht Harbor email address 2 days in advance, and you get a phone call. Verbally, you get called 24 hours in advance. Other than that, you can't have a special meeting. That's at a minimum. Once again, don't see that happening very often. Even if we have special meetings, I anticipate them being, and we heard a lot of pushback last time about them not being at least 60 days in advance. So generally, that's what you're going to get with a special meeting, particularly as we talk about economic development and stuff. But we needed to correct these parameters to make it realistic for what happens if there is an emergency in this. We have to start calling some meetings. All right. Also in Article 3, we took the executive committee, the section 3 in there. That's been removed totally and moved into Article 4. Article 3. Any comments or questions from the board? From the public?
No.
Okay. Article 4, committees. The executive committee section out of Article 3 is just cut and pasted into Article 4 with the exception of some technical corrections on board of directors and stuff, or corporation. Then Section 1 becomes Section 2, standing committees. And on the standing committees, the technical changes, you go to Section D on page 5, Rules and Standards Committee. It says, the committee shall consist of 5 members of the board of directors, and for voting purposes, 3 are required to establish a quorum. Remember, this rule goes back to when we had 14 directors, and I was told, and I believe it was due to trying to make sure they could get enough people to the meeting to vote. Since I have been on this board, and I've sat on this committee since the start, it's been a 3-person committee for the most part. I mean, there's been a 4th person occasionally who trying to give people committee assignments, but basically it's been 3 people. So the proposal is the committee shall consist of 3 members of the board, and for voting purposes, 2 are required to establish a quorum. And then we added, the committee shall employ the services of professional consultants, architects, engineers, etc., as necessary to review plans and advise them when appropriate. Once again, this all complies with current practice and more practical with 9 members, making sure we have a quorum so when people are looking for changes, they can get a meeting, changes to their plans, both house owners, and be more agile in it. And although we've always had architects and engineers, I say always, since I've been around, I want to make sure that that's in here, because that's how we really make our driving decisions. We are blessed to have some technical expertise, but those folks aren't here in that capacity. People using their professional license, just like when we had attorneys on the board, they want to give the board attorneys. We appreciate all their insight, but we employ professionals to go by their advice and questions and stuff, but so that's that proposed change. Section 3, ad hoc committees. We've had ad hoc committees, and we never defined in here. They were referenced at one step, but without any definitions or anything, how they're made, how they're dissolved. So we added Section 3, ad hoc committees. A, ad hoc committees may be established to facilitate the efficient regulation of the affairs of the corporation. B, the president, in consultation with the executive committee, and the board, shall have the authority to form ad hoc committees. So in any one of those 3 fashions, committees, ad hoc committees can be formed. Think safety and security, quality of life. There's one standing committee, so the committees that are probably some of our most active committees. C, the board shall have the authority to dissolve ad hoc committees by a majority vote of a quorum. So, although they can be formed in various matters, the committee can only be dissolved by a vote at a meeting, whether it's regular or special meeting called for that purpose, by a majority vote of a quorum at a meeting such as this. Section 4, which was Section 3, it moved down, committee members and chairpersons. It previously was the executive committee by majority vote, president, I'm trying to read the strike with me, so again. The executive committee by majority vote shall appoint the members, and a chairperson for each standing committee shall be selected from the standing committee's members by the president. Each member of a standing committee shall serve at the will of the executive committee and may be replaced. And the president shall have the same authority concerning replacing a chairperson. As I said before, the executive committee had to have a public meeting to appoint someone to a committee to do some work. The president would then, from those people, be able to appoint the chair, and those people could be removed by the executive committee, and the chairperson could be replaced by the president. I want to be clear, before I even read it, that this is not about, somebody had mentioned, that it sounds like you want to checks and balances, like a power grab by the president or whatever. This is about being fluid and getting business done for the people we represent. And it's not about anything else. All the real work, the actions, when you talk about something being done, happens after a committee's appointment. And then those people have to go do some work, bring it back, and nothing that any committee does can result in any action without a full vote of the board. Example, rules and standards, reviewed it, our architect said do it, we voted to say it. Had to come before this full board to be, before those people could do anything with their appointments. And we make that clear, we make that clear to them in the committee. So, the proposed verbiage is, the president, in consultation with the executive committee, shall appoint the members and a chairperson for each standing committee, who shall be selected from the standing committee's members. Each member and the chairperson of a standing committee shall serve at the will of the executive committee and may be replaced by the president in consultation with the executive committee. The executive committee shall have the authority to appoint or remove committee members by a majority vote of the executive committee. I need to offer an amendment to this before we have a discussion. If everybody's okay with that, I'll need a... We keep saying everything we're talking about here is related to a standing committee. Wherever it says standing committee, it needs to say standing or ad hoc committee. So this applies to both, the appointment of people on the committees and chairpersons. So in each place where it says standing, it'll say, and let me, I hate to belabor this, folks, but let's do that. So the president, in consultation with the executive committee, shall appoint the members and a chairperson for each standing and ad hoc committee, who shall be selected from the committees, take out standing there and say committee's members. Each member and chairperson of a standing committee and ad hoc committee shall serve at the will of the executive committee and may be replaced by the president in consultation with the executive committee. The executive committee, a little bit of checks and balances, shall have the authority to appoint or remove committee members by a majority vote of the executive committee. Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry, let's take each amendment, I'm sorry. That's an amendment I'm offering. Can I get a second from the executive committee who offered this motion to put that in, to change standing to standing and ad hoc, wherever.
I'll second, and then we have discussion.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion to amend this motion that's on the floor currently by McConnell, seconded by Watkins. Let's have a discussion on it. I guess, Rod, you want to go first? Oh, you go first, I'm sorry.
It says each member and chairperson, and you said over standing or ad hoc. I was just saying each member and chairperson of a committee.
Okay,
Just
okay,
along,
yep.
shortening it up, because we keep going to standing and ad hoc, and we want to shorten things to make it concise. Just of a committee,
Yep.
shall serve, and then we need to keep.
Take it, okay, I agree. I'm okay with that amendment. Well, Roger, you have the second also in agreement with it? Okay, so we have an amendment to the amendment that was offered. Does everybody understand? We're striking standing committee and just refer to committee in general, to any kind of committee it applies to.
Yeah, I mean, I would offer up that the section title should be standing or ad hoc committee members and chairperson, and then that covers committees for the entire section.
Okay, no, that's fine, I'm just trying to be procedurally correct here, okay? So, we had a motion, we had a second, we now have an amendment to the amendment. I know this is right. Somebody offer a second to Mark's amendment? Lakeisha offers a second to Mark's amendment. Mark's, to be clear, Mark's motion says to change the title of section 4 from committee members and chairperson to standing and ad hoc committee members and chairperson. Okay, discussion. We have a motion and a second to amend the motion. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? It's going to say section labeled standing and ad hoc committee members and chairperson, and then it'll read, the president in consultation with the executive committee shall appoint the members and the chairperson for each committee who shall be selected from the committee's members. Period. Each member and chairperson of a committee shall serve at the will of the executive committee and may be replaced by the president in consultation with the executive committee. Executive committee shall have the authority to appoint and remove committee members by a majority vote of the executive committee. All those in favor of the amendment, I'm sorry, discussion, any discussion on that? That is the motion. Any comment cards? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the amendment to the amended rules? Okay, aye, we have a unanimous. on that.
Who was the second one?
Akeisha, Turkey. Okay, Akeisha Turkey. All right. Last page, under,
Sorry, I didn't realize we were done that whole section.
no, go ahead.
I just noticed we provide a clause in here stating that attorneys aren't providing professional services by being on committees.
Right, okay.
And it's not something that was edited in this, it was original language in section.
Yes, under the legal committee.
Under the legal committee. I asked if we could add a similar statement to rules and standards as a licensed architect that I'm not providing professional services by my management.
Okay.
Committee. I'm fine with taking the language from above, from the legal committee, and basically
Replicate.
replicating that, take out legal services and attorney and swap it to professional services.
Okay.
I just think that we stand to have some of the same liabilities.
I agree. So let me tell you what I think I heard you say. I think I heard Mark offer a motion that said, in doing so, any members of the professional building services? Example, architect,
Yeah.
design, what was the appropriate word to use there?
Yeah, I'd say design, professional design services.
Professional design services, and I'll put example, architect, professional design services. A&E, right? As an example, right? In doing so, any members of the professional design service, i.e. architects and engineers, etc., shall not be deemed for any purposes to be performing professional services for the corporation. Instead, any such professional shall be deemed for all purposes to be performing the same non-professional functions as any non-professional director would be performing on that committee. Okay. We have a motion by Heck. Can I get a second from the other architect? I don't mean project. You want to make a motion? You sit on that committee. Okay, a second by Mr. Turkey. All right, any discussion from board members? From the public?
None.
All right. The last line of Article 4, I added, Brian, you want present? I was. A sub to the last section 4, committee members, says corporation employees may be appointed to various committees. Employees shall not have a vote. So for instance, Wayne most likely comes to mind. He goes to the finance committee meetings, but you should make him a part of the committee because he needs to be able to answer questions and stuff. So, okay, that's the last part of that section, of that article, I should say. Once again, to give board opportunity, any board members? Any public? All right, we have a motion on the floor. Oh, no, I'm sorry, got 2 more sections. Article 5, indemnity. No changes to that other than a technical change of him or her. And finally, Article 6, amendments. It previously said, the board of directors shall have the power to make, adopt, alter, amend, and repeal from time to time the bylaws of the corporation by the affirmative action of a majority of the entire board of directors at any regular or special meeting of the board called for that purpose. To comply with city ordinances, we have to, any bylaw changes we propose have to go before the mayor. So the proposal is the board shall have power to make, adopt, alter, amend, and repeal from time to time bylaws of the corporation by an affirmative action of 2/3 majority of the entire board of directors, the entire board, at any regular or special meeting of the board called for that purpose. All changes to the bylaws are subject to the approval of the mayor of the city of New Orleans. That is verbatim. The 2/3 is not a simple majority. It's 2/3 of the entire board. So even if we have meeting here, 9 board members, let's say, 6 is 2/3. If we had a meeting here, and we had 6 people present, we'd have a quorum. But if 5 people voted to change the bylaws and 1 didn't, we wouldn't have a 2/3 vote of the entire board, we couldn't pass it. If 6 people were here and they all voted to pass it, then it passes. So this is just trying to comply with what, and once again, I cited the ordinance there, so we're part of home rule charge. So with that said, any questions on that Article 6 from the board, from the public? All right, with that said, we have a motion from the bylaw committee to approve these changes as amended at this meeting to the bylaws and submit them to the mayor for approval. That's coming from committee, we don't need a second. Any discussion? Any comment cards from the public?
No.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 people. We'll make those changes and get it to the, I'll work with you, for my notes and yours. We got a tape. All right. I want to bring it up, also, no, let me wait till the end. Okay. All right. Next, Economic Development Committee. We don't have anything to report other than what Brian reported earlier in the meeting. Do we have any board members have anything on that? Do we have a comment card?
No. Charles?
You know, please, I'm digesting a little bit what Brian had to say. I have a couple of questions. The one thing that's been on my mind for a while, and you know, we barely touched on it, is that when I read the state laws, that one act said the money was supposed to stay in the park. That was Act 92 of 1910. So, I mean, has that been resolved or any other delving into that? I really haven't seen much coming out of Joe Giarrusso or anybody else as far as what you can do in the park. And I know Section 5 said you could do other things in the park.
Charles, I need to stop you. You referred to acts that I don't know what they are.
Okay.
I've never heard, you know, so Act 92, what, you're talking about Act 9?
No, Act 92.
I don't know it, you have to get that to us. I mean, anybody else wants to comment on it, that's fine. I don't know what Act 92 of 1910 is, I've never heard of it.
Okay, all right.
I know what Act 9 is, of 1910, which is what I believe you're referring to.
Well, go ahead and just say, let's just for sake of argument, you can say it's 9. And I do have a couple other questions, so I don't want to use up all my time, you know. If you want to wait for me to finish.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
As we do the feasibility study, I mean, we realized the previous feasibility studies that said the area was saturated, and more so the one that we got 2 years ago actually confirmed that. So I realized HRNA is a different analysis of what they've come up with. But we looked at how many parking places are going to be needed. We talked about saving the oak trees. So this report and the structural needs, I mean, when they came in and said it's feasible, have they given parameters that make it feasible? So I mean, before we just say it's done. And Councilman Giarrusso was actually on WWL radio, Tommy Tucker, saying that the pedestrian bridge had already been rebuilt. I mean, so I don't know when I know he very much wants this project to happen, but that bridge has not been built and it's not going to be built. But he actually said to the audience on the radio that it had been. So, I mean, I think we need to look at what does feasibility mean, because now we have guests that use the park, they're going to want a parking place. We have people that come here, they're going to want a parking place. Is the study just enough parking for the restaurants that are going to go in there? Does it include other people that might want to use it? And the example I'll give is the airport. When the city council approved that airport, they didn't put in a road to get there. There's not enough parking. They have people and all the employees parking on the South Shore. They have overlooked things. So I think that before we keep moving, so, you know, if we move fast, we ought to look at all of the variables to make it feasible.
Any board members? Any comment?
Kevin?
Wait, I'm sorry.
I'll just check.
Go.
I think parking will be dictated by zoning. There's standard parking limitations for uses, for all those things. And if that's what we're not going to do, and that would be what would be expected by any development or any project anywhere in the city. and that's just, that's why zoning laws exist. And parking is overseen by zoning.
Okay, so if there's a shortage of parking for events here, these people won't, you know, potentially can't use that parking structure?
So, right?
What did he say by zoning, but it doesn't matter, what does that
The
mean?
number of spaces.
Parking, the number of spaces is determined by zoning. If the developer wants to allow people to park there for events that go on in the park, as a good neighbor, they're more than welcome to do that. But we are not, and I do not believe it's good urban design practice, going to overbuild parking spaces for events that happen 3 times a year. So, what's going to be required is what is required by the zoning code, and that's what's going to be in the expectation of the developers to provide.
Okay. Previously, the Restaurant Association had said there wasn't enough parking over there, and they wanted to start developing green space over here because there was short parking. So I just want to make sure that,
I don't have the appetite for developing this green space in the parking. I don't know if any other board members do, but you've heard again and again that they want to keep, I mean, people expressed on this board keeping this green space. So nobody can touch this green space without permission from this board, so. That said, the only other thing I would address is, and it made reference to, I'm assuming it's Act 9 from 1910.
yes.
It says after all debt, indebtedness has been liquidated, the annual net earnings shall thereafter be applied to enlarging and further embellishing said park. You know, there's something else there that, once again, everything will have to comply with law. If they're not complying with law, I don't know what else to say. So I think we're complying with it at this point. If we weren't, I'm sure somebody would challenge us on it.
Okay. Because I guess I thought if Jefferson Parish is going to get money out of this, then that's not, to me, at 9 or whatever, it says it's to embellish and improve the park, it's not to giving a share to Jefferson Parish.
Does part of the land that's in Jefferson Parish is dictated by that too, you're saying?
No, just the parkland, that's all I'm saying. And Jefferson
I
Parish.
think
Jefferson
the
Parish.
intent is that the development, if it happens, will include land from Jefferson Parish. From my understanding.
All right.
You know, what we're doing. So, all right, any other comment, Gordon?
Yeah. And if I may, I just want to,
Mr. Carey?
Kerry Kitchie, I find myself in kind of an awkward position here, because to some respects I agree with Charles. What I have seen in the past, and I want to caution this board to be aware of it, because I have confidence that you will if you're aware of it. A momentum builds up. Somebody gets an idea, they publish this idea, they put a nice glitzy proposal forward, and it is almost accepted as if that's what we should be doing. And the conversation now is not what is the right thing to do, but why shouldn't we do this? And I think that's the wrong approach in this situation. And frankly, when I heard Brian talk about what HRA had done, sounds like that exact same thing, which is what the Regional Planning Commission had done. They had this great presentation, they had this idea, and after that, there were no voices that were going to stop that, because it had so much momentum building up. And the bulwark against that momentum is this board. And the way to make sure that we don't get run over by momentum is being ready when we get in advance. I want to give one example about the parking, because this is typical of the type of what I refer to as chicanery. You're right, there's zoning rules. So the conversation with the Regional Planning Commission was, we have zoning rules, we have parking requirements in Orleans, we have parking requirements in Jefferson. Jefferson required greater parking because it was primarily an urban area, and so more people would be expected to be driving to the restaurants or the retail places, as opposed to Orleans, which was an urban area. To make it fit, the Regional Planning Commission said, well, we'll take the smaller one. When in fact the smaller one does not fit. This is not a place where people are going to walk to come to. They said, oh yeah, people will park over by the grocery store and walk over. That's nonsense. The one thing, and I only want one thing, I don't really care what the development there is, and I've said it all along. All I want is to make sure that whatever goes there does not unduly interfere with the quality of life and the nature of the West End area as it existed. And I know that that's what y'all share, and I just want to urge you to be very vigilant, because I feel that that momentum that I've seen start before, it gets overrun, is getting ready to get started again. But that's all I wanted to say, and I'm sure that y'all share my thoughts about what it should be.
Thank you.
Real quick.
Thank you.
I appreciate your comment, Kerry, I really do, and I would hope that this board, and what I've heard from board members is, we plan to give everything a very good, hard scrutiny, and I think we all want to take, this cautionary tale of don't let it, the momentum of something that gets proposed overrun us with, bright lights and glitz. Let's be vigilant as to what we look at and what we may eventually approve or not approve.
Thank you.
I think our decision is going to come down to, I mean, what we're getting out of this is really like rent back and revenues for the corporation. And I don't think there's many people on this board that are going to choose the highest rent that would, overrun the area. I'd take a 33% reduction in rent for something that fits well and doesn't overrun, as we say. I think a lot of people share that. I don't want to speak for anybody else. And I think this is now the phase, like in RFQ and RFPs, like where we voice that. So nothing's been formed yet. They just gave us a study on the area to say, hey, here's what we might want to be thinking and be open.
What might get supported.
Yeah.
Meaning supported, when I say supported financially. And I always like to say, and I'm sorry, I support it. I like to say feasibility study means nothing. The only feasibility study I know of is when somebody's willing to come and put a whole bunch of their dollars somewhere. Other than that, it ain't feasible. And so I understand what you're saying. Somebody comes up with some big grandiose thing. Only speaking for myself, loudly here, right? I own a bunch of rental property. I hope I don't offend anybody with this. I ain't got a single Airbnb in it, and I could have done it in some prime locations. That's my highest and best use. But I don't believe in it. I don't think it's right. I think you hear again and again from board members saying, we're going to do what's right by everybody that we represent. I'm going to try and guide it that way, and I hope everybody else has the same mindset. I think you hear from people up here again and again.
So just real quick, respectfully, the original CA called for highest and best use. So you can understand our concerns because we talked about what does produce the greatest revenue. So, I appreciate you guys saying that, but what the city council passed with Jefferson Parish was for best revenue.
Right. Not caught again, but I don't want to delay too much time, but highest and best use is not the most dollars, and it's very clear about that in its definition, and it's accepted across the world. When you look it up, like developers in Canada and Europe use the same definition, and it takes you to not just what's possible, probable, but also what is, I'm not saying the right word, I'm butchering it, but to paraphrase, amenable to the community. So it's not just the dollars is the last thing listed in there. So, highest and best use, everybody thinks means, and I heard you say it to me, this is all about dollars. That is not what highest and best use means.
Okay.
That's not the definition. So I hope that anybody who uses that, they read the definition and know what they're talking about when they say it. For many meetings, I had to sit right here, so I could reference it, and I don't want to take from my briefcase, but. All right, any other comments?
No.
Economic development. All right, thank you everyone for your quality of life committee.
We had not met, I think our meeting is upcoming, but I just want to reiterate what Tim mentioned about that if we're voting, we're in the best interest for the area and the constituents. So as I chair the quality of life, I will always listen and say, hey, because although I don't live in an area, I do feel connected to the area, and I would not want you guys to be uncomfortable. You live here, and you deserve the quality of life that everybody does deserve. But what I will say is that something is going to be there, and it won't be green space, and it probably won't be pickleball. Like, something is gonna go there. So what we're hoping is that we keep an open mind and know that the way things were, and just nothing being there is not going to be the future. So kind of brace yourself to know that change is coming, and we're going to do our best to make sure that it's comfortable change as much as possible. But change is never comfortable in the beginning. So just know that being a chair of equality is like, I'm going to fight and advocate, but I also have to have an open mind and know that something is going to go there that produces revenue. And I think in the long run, that would be something that's so beneficial to everyone. So just wanted to say that I do not have anything from the committee meeting, but I just wanted to say that.
Well said. I looked it up, it's Google, it's the same everywhere. The reasonably probable and legal use of vacant land or improved property that is physically possible, and the key to me is appropriately supported, financially feasible, about a feasibility study. We're not putting up a whole lot of money. It seems like a lot right now, but more work of whatever it winds up being, at least tens of millions of dollars coming from somebody else. And financially feasible, that results in the highest value. I think the key is, and with this board's bulwark against anything that would be on advertising, is appropriately supported. So that's our job to make sure that that occurs.
And I just want to add about transparency, just as you're here, every step of the way, you're going to be involved. Even the RFP is going to have an opportunity for you to speak out. And we having a platform where that happens, where you're here, or it's something that you can type in. So you're going to be a part of the process as it relates to your feedback. Now, just like everything else, you know, just because you said it may not happen, but at least you'll know, and it wouldn't be a surprise one day you come in and there's a big nightclub in the corner. Like that, you won't be surprised by it, at least. But I doubt that's what's going to happen, but I'm just giving you the importance of transparency, and I think this board does a great job of being very transparent. There's no hidden agendas. We don't get anything. We don't get anything besides our community service to you. There's no check. I don't even get no perks. I don't get got nothing. I'm like, where's the perks to be on this committee? So the reason why we here is a full service for you and doing and making the best decision for the community. I promise you, nothing on the table, I don't get no checks, no payoff, and nobody does.
This is community
So
service.
this is total community service, and well, we got king cake today.
Yeah, king cake. That
We
was
got king cake from Tim. So this is.
Charles, should we get our checks this morning?
So just wanted to reiterate that again about transparency and that our best interest is to service you, but know that change is coming. Be open-minded, and it has to produce revenue.
Any other board members? Comment cards on quality of life.
Liz?
Yeah, I just want to follow up again on the blighted property. Is there any movement on any of that?
Brian, why don't you go over the covenant,
The one
right,
next to
board?
it.
You're talking about ours. Is that ours next to her?
No, just any of the blighted property, but the one that concerns me the most is the one that's next door to me.
Well, I'm asking, is that ours that's next to her?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I can make a comment, and I think you're right. The board has been, and the management here has been extremely lenient with property violations. And that needs to change. So I'm going to start immediately start sending out eviction notices. I mean, it's time. People have been warned. So abandoned cars, abandoned trailers, illegally parked boats. I want to just start sending out the letters. And because we now can act on them. We know how to dispose of property. If we get property, we now figured it out. We had no idea what to do before. Now I can do it. We can take the property and lease it. And then it makes everybody. So if that's where we need to be, and that is within the leases and the calls, I'll start doing it. And I'll start cracking down on everybody. And that's totally fine. It's time. So anybody that's got trailers out there, if we can find out who it is, you're getting a lease cancellation letter. It's coming. There's no reason for it to have gotten this bad. So cars need to be licensed. If we can find out who owns it, it's sitting there for more than a few days.
If it don't have a license, we know it's a violation of the city ordinance, so.
So, yeah.
Well, a little follow-up on it, I'm not sure if the full board knows about it, I'm just curious about the lady living in the van.
Is she still there?
Well, I saw her not yesterday because it was pouring down rain when you go out.
I mean, the health department.
She's out there the day before,
The health
back at
department.
Spurlock's house, who says he doesn't know her, but she's parked there for like a month, so.
We were in contact with the health department to reach
Yeah.
out, and I think they did.
She goes away, but then she does come back, so wherever she goes to, I don't know, but she just, when she just hangs around, that's, one thing, but, she just like walked in my neighbor's house. And she's like, you're gonna get shot, if you keep just walking in people's houses.
No, I mean, I've been in contact with the Levy Board Police.
Yeah,
and
they're
the
definitely on it.
New Orleans Health
but
Department, so.
I just, wasn't sure what anybody was supposed to do with her when they see her. I mean, everybody just kind of ask her to move on, but she just reappears. Yeah. No way. That's all.
Brian, I'd ask that before you start, it's like it'd be good to send out a notice to everyone, that when we start doing it, and do it, I'm all for doing element enforcement, you just talked about it, and I think it's past due time, but let's make sure we notify everyone, give everybody an opportunity, not very long, but an opportunity to know what's coming. Start, once we have all these contracts in place, give everybody, starting Tuesday, February 1st or whatever, this will be enforced in this manner. And it's not that, some people would say, well, if it's legal, you don't have to do that, but at the end of the day, if we've been lax in doing it, it's appropriate to let people know this is coming. All right, any board members?
Wait, I was just gonna, appreciate how you said it, actually, I was
Maybe,
sitting.
I think we have another comment, Bob.
Yeah.
Let's look.
Carrie?
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the comments, and I've seen it, and I've seen the actions of this board, because what we have, the area has been developed magnificently with the breakwater park and the improvements and the things to your point. And y'all did respond exactly the way that you've done, because you addressed it and got a hold of it. And we see a lot of activity and a lot of use by the public in the area. But it's being used in a proper way that doesn't interfere and enjoys everybody. So I know that that's where y'all are, and I appreciate it. I just want to make that comment. And I recognize what's, likelihood. But again, that's all that I'm worried about. So I recognize that this board has responded in the past, and I know you're going to respond again in the same way. And I appreciate that.
Lee?
Just want to ask, in line with the addressing of blighted property, is Boardhouse 116 on your radar as questionably blighted, but definitely dangerous?
I mean, he's been reported to
The city?
the city for code violation. I mean, not code violation, just for unhabitable. Yeah, I'll look into the leases and see what it says. If it says must maintain, and I think it does, I'll send them a letter. I think they're trying to sell it, but.
Yeah, it's gambling. It's dangerous.
I know, yeah, I agree. I mean, I report it, but yeah, if it violates the lease, they're getting a notice, and then they're gonna get an eviction letter.
Oh, that's 50 dangerous too.
Yeah.
It really is.
Send them, right on all your neighbors, send them to me. I'm serious. I mean, before we know it, we had to unload the boathouses, now we do. So, we'll make more money by doing it.
Carry on.
And Charles.
Again, thank you all for, you do the right one. You know, a lot of work goes in, and I enjoy walking frequently from my place all the way up Taylor's place and up to the point off and see them out there.
You okay with that, Karen?
We say hi to each other when we see each other. It's a great walk. It came out fantastic. The whole area from out basically from West End Park out to the point. It's a beautiful thing and it works great. A lot of people out there enjoying sunset, and it's really the way the park should be. And the park does have, I know 2 or 3 people who actually have lost their parents or husbands, and they use the park as a quiet place for meditation, and it does serve a purpose. A friend was out there and ran into the police, you know, her dad just died, and she's out there, and it's a great place for a lot of times for people who have gone through a tough period. And so I really want to thank all you do. And the other thing I was going to add is we did play pickleball, and Rich did a great job of serving, so we had a great pickleball match.
Now we know who cut the lock to the gate, huh?
It was wide open when I got there.
It's a
We're
world.
talking about who rules
It's
apply
a
to,
world.
right?
A question for Brian. You mentioned about sitting out notices and, Tim, you said giving them some time, 30 days.
How do you say it?
I don't know. But usually
I
it's
think
like.
putting people on notice.
It's usually not tomorrow. But- So my question is, in the rules and regulations, some of these violations, they are in the rules and regulations, right? So I just wonder if when you send that notice, I can reference that or a snapshot page or something like that to expedite. So it's not that, hey, I need to give you a 30-day notice or whatever, the rules and regulations here that you receive. And you have, I would say like 10 days. Because it's been, since I've been here, it's been the same violations and it's been 2 years. So to me, I don't think it should be a notice. I think it should be, and what you want to do is like you should, but I think it should be, here's a copy of the rules and regulations that you received, and you have 10 days to get this, or this happens. That might be a little harsh, but I feel like it's been 2 years since we've been dealing with the same people. And if you always reference the rules and regulations that you accepted when you moved here, it never fails. Maybe talking to the attorney might be what you have to do, but.
No, I don't think legally we have to do anything. If they're in violation, they're in violation. And I certainly didn't say 30 days. I just think it's to say, next week, whatever it is, 7 days, we're going to begin to enforce progressively, actively, whatever, and only because we haven't for 10 years. So there's this perception of, well, wait a minute, you went from 0 to 60, or 0 to 100. It's just, folks, we get ready to do it. We give people a week to do it, and then you start sending stuff
But I
out.
remember he did it. He said.
You sent
I've sent some people to
fine. You sent it to people before, but if you never have, just I think it as a goodwill, so to speak, you know, guys, we're coming to do it. It's like, I've had my trailer here for 10 years now, I'm coming to it without saying anything. It ain't like the city's selling it. I mean, we all honor the city, but I say, that's all I'm saying. It would help. We have everybody's email, we have everybody's address. Send something saying, hey, tomorrow, we're gonna start doing.
Right, especially
You
for
know?
those who already sent something to you. So it's
Well,
not-
particularly if they've already been notified, that's a different story. I'm just saying, because we have been lax in enforcement, it helps. I won't ask the lawyers in the room to comment on that, because they'll probably go, well, you haven't done nothing for 20 years, I'm gonna make a case. I mean, the law is the law, but anyway, I just think it's a way to enact goodwill, and give somebody an opportunity, if they know what's gonna happen, they more than likely move the trailer out of there. All right, any other comment, cards?
That's it.
Okay. Safety and Security Committee.
We met last month. I only have one comment. You said that there was a lady, she walked in someone's house. Did you guys report that to me?
Oh, yeah.
And that's, things like that need to be reported because that's beyond
I know,
reason
right?
you won't consume home uninvited.
She did something during boat parade too, I don't know what. But yeah, the Lubbock police, they are very on it. So they're keeping an eye out for her. I just didn't know what the plan was, you know, for dealing with her, than to just keep moving her along every time. But yes, they're on top of it. They all seem to know about it. Thank you.
Is there something you can put in the driveways, or, I mean, she can still move it, but, you know, barricade,
And so she's parking on Stroll's property outside.
She
Was there for a long time.
She's staying inside.
No, she lives in her van. She uses power that she finds at any house, but she was getting it.
So he was sent a letter to, because he thinks it's violations, and then she moved.
Yes.
And then she was parked somewhere else, and we contacted the levy board. I was in touch with the levy board police. And they contacted the city's health department, who did some outreach
So place her.
to place her somewhere, whether or not she chose to take that or not. So things have been doing in the most appropriate way possible. If she keeps coming back, the only thing we can do is continue to give her options to go elsewhere that are reasonable, and that's what we're doing. And that's about all we can do.
Board members, any comment? Any more comment, comments?
Carrie?
Oh, wait.
That's it.
All right. We are going to go to executive session. I'm gonna need a motion, but first let's talk about the date and time of the next meeting. I guess I need a motion to go out of order. So I'd make that motion,
So moved.
Motion by Heck, second by Watkins to go out of order in our agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Date and time of the next meeting is February 13th, Mardi Gras Day. So we need to pick another day to have the meeting. I asked everybody to take a look at the calendar. If there's a couple of suggestions went out for the following Tuesday, the 20th, or the following Tuesday, 20th. Does that work for everyone? February 20th to be the following Tuesday.
And you do realize that when you go to the 20th, because February is your shortest month, so we're literally only 2 weeks from the next week.
It'll be 3. If we do the 20th.
12th, March 12th, will be the next, will be 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we could, I'm fine with any day people propose, I just want to move it to the 14th or 15th, and February's already a short.
We're not doing the 14th.
Yeah, we did.
It's Valentine's Day, Jim.
That's true.
I'm actually out of town that week, so,
The 20th, certainly.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right. So a motion, we get a motion to move the meeting from the 13th to the 20th. Motion, Dr. Criddle,
Second.
second by Chris Hammond. Any discussion? Public? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the date for the February meeting is February 20th. All right. Our next agenda item is going to discuss unclassified employees, salaries, and adjustments. So we're going to go into an executive session to discuss a personnel matter. I need a motion to do that. Motion from Heck. Second by Dr. Krill. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, I'm on to executive session. When we come out, I don't know that we'll have any motions on the floor. We may approve. No. All right.
You had a break.
Huh?
Thank you, Carrie.
We're going straight into what you got.
I just had a question.
Thank you, folks.
The fire alarm at the Tennessee bathroom,
out there went off the other day. It went for like 4 or 5 hours. They were out on the call to 911 and somebody came out. I don't know if
They
they
came
came
out
out and
today.
shut it off, or they can shut it off remotely.
It's been disabled.
It was not functioning.
Yeah, I didn't know who was responsible. Well, I should have called, or,
Called us, yeah.
well, it was after hours. It was
Well,
at
somebody
9.
emailed me and I went out and.
Oh, they emailed, is that what happened? Okay. I just didn't know what to
It
do.
was not functioning, the fire department came, they expected me to put it on test. It not functioning again, because it was on test, it didn't notify us, because I get notified when that was.
Okay, I was wondering what happened.
But since it was on test, I didn't get notified.
It was obvious there wasn't a fire, so I wasn't.
Until somebody emailed,
Yeah.
and then I went out there, and it has been fixed.
Oh, well, that's good. All right, I'm just curious.
It was every possible thing to go wrong with that.
Right, right. All right.
One of the emails you gave me.
Okay.
Richard?
All right.
Yeah, it's on that. I'll send it, I will. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Well, let me know when you're back on, Brian.
It's blinking.
All right, we are now back in session of our regular meeting for January 9th, Municipal Yacht Harbor. We went to executive session to discuss the unclassified employees' performance and salary. We have two motions by committee coming out of that executive session. The first motion is to grant a 10% pay raise to both the executive director and deputy executive director going forward, effective immediately. We have all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We have a second motion to conduct a pay study for those positions and to hire a consultant to conduct a pay study and help us create a rubric for future evaluation of those positions going forward. That's coming out of committee. Do we have any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? Aye. All right. I think I might have failed to ask for discussion on the 10% pay raise motion, but we did discuss it. It also in the committee. Is there anybody that wants to make a comment on either one of those motions? Okay. All right. I believe we're okay. So both motions have passed. Direct the staff to do that. Thank you very much. And I need to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by President. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, be quiet. Robert's rules of order, you don't need